I really am thankful and excited to be here today. I think when you think about collaboration, it's one of the things that folks really struggle with doing, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. Like Jim said, you know, at my core, I'm an e-commerce, digital marketing, technology nerd that happened to graduate with Mike McKean as one of my teachers here at Mizzou. And, you know, I've always been kind of a technology person at heart. And after some travails across the agency world and working at Brown Shoe and starting e-commerce there, yes, Buster Brown Online, you got that. You know, I decided in my heart I wanted to be a nerd. And it's okay to be a nerd, folks. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So, you know, what I do right now is I lead a team, a worldwide team in 26 countries, and I'm responsible for, as Jim said, our e-commerce experiences for phone, band, and HoloLens at Microsoft Store. Microsoft Store, we've got 116 brick and mortar locations worldwide, flagship stores in New York City and Sydney. We offer e-commerce in over 180 countries now, and we're the front door for consumers at Microsoft. We didn't do consumer well. I don't know if you guys knew that. And so Microsoft Store is really positioned to be that front door. At the end of the day, if you're not obsessed about your customers, they don't let you in the Microsoft Store Club. You have to be focused on making sure that whomever walks in your virtual door or your physical door goes out with an answer and the right product in their hand, whether it's a competitor's product or one of ours. So my topic today is really, I'm going to challenge you guys a little bit. I think it's easier to work by yourself than it is to collaborate. Because when you work by yourself, you get to set the goals. You get to set the priorities. You get to work as fast as you want. You know, and like Kevin here, it's just all about bananas, right? Like you can just do what you want. You pick your own measures of success. At the end of the day, like I said, you're in control of all the aspects. And in many ways, for a lot of folks, that's easier. But collaborating, like I said, is harder. It takes time and coordination and trust and communication and discipline and all these really hard words. And by the way, there's a lot of overhead in collaboration. You have to keep everybody together. That's one of the threads that I've heard today so far is that, you know, you've got to keep everybody at least informed, but ideally on the same page. That's not easy, especially when you start to talk about a global team. Like I said, it takes the right tools and effort, et cetera. So I started thinking about this. And, you know, they're the typical kind of, you know, you want to get everybody on board. You've got our minion gang here, and they're all lined up in the right direction. How'd they do that? You know, you can highlight the benefits of the most efficient use of resources and our talents. You know, team, right? Who in the room or online has heard the word or the acronym TEAM, right? Together, everyone achieves more, right? That's one of my favorite. I see that one, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what they meant when they spelled out team, but yeah, that's cool. That's all right. And you know, of course, there's diversity of perspectives in people, which is super important. You know, you can also, to get everybody on board, you can incent people to go that way. You pay them, right, to collaborate. And one interesting kind of story I'll share real fast is that I'm a Microsoft bounce back. I left Microsoft, went to work for AT&T for a while. The culture at Microsoft and some of the things we're doing, Jim, has changed. And the biggest change that Satya has led is that people are now accountable in their annual reviews, their quarterly connects. They're accountable for how you help someone else. So it's really changed the culture. But so again, we've got all these things, everyone on board, but as you can imagine at a global company, that's a big change. And that's not easy. Again, I go back to, it's easier just to do it yourself. The number one way I've seen to have people collaborate is to make sure that you use tools and processes that make it easier to say yes to collaboration than no. It's very simple. How many times, so today, we've had 2 video conferences today so far, right? I think we're 0 for 2. And I might mention that Skype technology, I might not. Go ahead, I'm the Microsoft guy, give me that.
You won't be alone.
So, but think about that for a moment. If you were a global team, you're sitting in New Delhi, you're sitting in Sydney, and you've got something valuable to say, and the technology cuts out. That team can't take advantage of you and your talents, and you feel isolated. You feel like you're kind of on an island. So, while it's easy to say, we've got this wonderful technologically advanced world, the reality is I cannot stress how many times I've seen sales presentations, collaboration meetings, inside, outside of Microsoft, wherever I've been, where as soon as the AV fails, it all goes to hell in a handbasket. And Christina said I could cuss earlier, so I'm going to go hell. So that's what you've got to focus on this. It's got to be easier to say yes than no, whatever you're doing. So how do we do that? First, you've got to understand your teams. Are they mobile professionals? Do they have the camera on their laptop taped over? How many people in the room right now have the camera on their laptop taped over? Anybody? There you go. Right? Do you know why they have it taped over? Because they don't trust the technology they have on their laptop to not accidentally show them when they're getting ready in the morning. Or when they've got to blow their nose or whatever, right? It's not a technology thing, it's a people thing. You have to know your teams, you have to know the people, right? So, or do you have folks that are periscoping? Right? Like they're comfortable with video everywhere in their life, and not only do they have the camera up, but they've got a separate camera, so they can have a camera from behind, and they've got 360-degree view of their world, right? So know your teams, know your culture. How many people have been in a culture where people on the team talk about the computer? I don't know how to put stuff into the computer. I just really don't get along with the computer. You laugh, but it's there. If you don't know that's there, you can't be out on a limb where the fun begins. And if you try to force that down their throat, what's going to happen? You're not going to collaborate, I'll guarantee you that, okay? So, again, know your culture. Whatever it is, whether it's your team's culture, your customer's culture, know it. It's your job. What's your mission? Are you teaching? Are you listening? Are you co-working? Is technology core to your mission? Sarah's company, technology, is core to her mission. I think for a long time in the media, Jim, technology wasn't core to our mission, right? And then this whole Tim Berners-Lee thing happened, and everybody became a Gutenberg, and all of a sudden, technology got pretty important, didn't it? I'll tell you, it's completely different. I was here at the J School when we got a giant grant, and Brian will know this, because he was here. We got a grant to put PCs on every desk at KBIA, and at the Missourian, and at KOMU, and we networked them all together in a token ring network. I always wondered, where's that token? What if you take it out? Does it break? I don't know. But anyway, so, that started the change, but the internet technologies and the mobile technologies have really changed how we all do business and how we all collaborate. If technology is core to your business, then go out on the limb where the fun begins, right? You've got to be leading edge. Use the new tools. If it's not core to your mission, you just got to get shit done, then stay in the center. Make sure it works. It's got to be easier to say yes to collaboration than no. Finally, your customers and partners, don't force them into your platform box. Whether it's a platform of processes or a platform of technology. You can't force them in. If you've ever tried to teach a horse to drink water from a bucket, you don't just slam the horse's head in the bucket. It doesn't work. The horse kicks something. You, somebody else, whatever. You got to bring the bucket up to the horse. And in this case, you got to make sure that your customers, your partners, your coworkers are in it to win it and in it with you. Your processes and your technology cannot really get in the way of that. So, somebody had earlier 9 things, I think, to remember. My mind is too simple. I can only remember 3 things. So these are my big 3 reasons or things that I think everybody should be using in a global collaboration effort. Number 1 is video. If you can't see somebody's facial expressions, those are still core to communication. You need to see this, okay? When it is crunch time and you've got to collaborate with someone, you need to see their physical activity. They're also fully engaged. How many folks in the room right now are answering an email? Go ahead, raise your hand. Okay? Luckily, you're not on video, I am. So I'm not answering an email. But that's my point. It's hard to do that when you're on video, right? Now, everybody can have that Dilbert cutout or, whatever, I don't know, One Direction cutout or something in front of their video camera, and, behind the scenes, they're making coffee or whatever happens to be. But for the most part, video is a truth teller. You're there when you're on video. So I think that's important. Use time as a tool. So I work with global teams. It was really funny. This is something that's new to me. Like I said, I'm just a simple guy from Shrewsbury, Missouri. Had to really kind of figure out that it's tomorrow in Australia. And if I want to do a conference call or a Skype call with them in Australia, I gotta figure out what time that is my time. Now, I work for a mega corporation, and there's a lot of times where, folks will want to enforce our time schedule in Redmond on the rest of the field. How collaborative is that? Not very, okay? You gotta meet in the middle. You have to recognize the effort when your partners or your teammates are working at 10 o'clock at night. My immediate partners in the phone business are in Finland. I'm in Redmond. Many times, one of my really dearest partners in the business, she's online at midnight. I mean, you got to recognize that effort, right? And it's not just the kind of token kudos, hey, congratulations, that's awesome, really, you're a super team member. You genuinely recognize it. You also have to meet them in the middle, especially if you work in a larger organization where you are, kind of perceived as dictating that schedule. Make sure you do that. Finally, use proven tools. I like Office, guilty. I like Skype, guilty. We use Skype for Business in all kinds of scenarios and situations. It's cross-platform, works on any device. It's easy. And more and more, as we as Microsoft integrate that core experience from Skype, which was really, by the way, one of the products I worked on at AT&T was something called Webrtc. How many of you are familiar with that? Sarah obviously is. Webrtc is kind of the technology that powers some of the other video conferencing solutions in the space. What's interesting about it is that the telcos are getting involved in that, because what they're finding is that over the open internet, it's not as reliable. It's not easy. Use something that's easy. So where are we going next? VR and AR. the ability to engage virtually is going to revolutionize collaboration. If you don't know the difference between VR and AR, and you want to collaborate digitally and globally, you need to understand the difference. VR is a singular engagement in a virtual setting. Now that engagement can be myself and Keith back there playing a game, but it's a singular engagement. And right now, most VR technologies are tied to a device of some kind, whether it's the Oculus Rift being tied to a PC, or the Samsung Gear VR or the HTC product being tied to the phone. They are amazingly innovative technologies, and developers are going bananas trying to figure out how people are going to use these technologies, not only in consumer applications, but also in business and collaborative scenarios. Then there's augmented reality, or AR. And this is the blend of your physical world with the virtual world. The current example is HoloLens. And so while I didn't get to bring one with me today, because they don't let me out of Redmond with really valuable stuff like that, I did bring you a video. Would you guys like to see it? Okay. So this is our partnership with NASA. And I'm going to set this up by saying the following. NASA engineers are now able to explore Mars from the comfort of their office in California. So let's watch.
OnSite is a tool that we're building in collaboration with Microsoft to connect scientists and engineers with the environment of the Curiosity Mars rover. Since we can't put our scientists yet physically on Mars, a technology like this allows us to investigate, well, what's possible if we can make them virtually present?
This was the first time where I could basically do a 360 and see Mars all around me.
I love the fact that people, when they first encounter this project, have a feeling of, wow, I've lived to see this.
Instead of looking at 2D images, they can now walk around and explore Mars in their office.
It was part inspiring and part just like, wow, I can finally do this thing that I really want to do. I could see using this every single day.
It is a different way of exploring. That's transformational. Our plan is to deploy OnSite to mission operations this summer and to be controlling rovers on Mars with this technology in July.
Now, that's collaboration across galaxies. I think that's something that we all need to consider as we move forward. I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to RJI and to Jim for the invite. And I'll be around. Again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.